Lena stood at the edge of the empty road and looked at the motel that once carried her family name. The building leaned slightly, as if time had pressed its weight on every wall. The sign above the entrance was broken, with only a few letters still readable. Paint peeled from the walls, and tall grass covered most of the parking area. The place looked forgotten, but to Lena it felt very alive. She had not planned to come here. The idea followed her for years, staying quiet in her mind, waiting for the right moment. After her parents passed away, the motel was locked and left behind. Papers were signed, keys were stored away, and life moved forward. Still, Lena often dreamed of this place. In her dreams, the motel lights were on, and someone stood behind the front desk, waiting for her. She took a deep breath and walked toward the entrance. Her shoes made soft sounds against the cracked ground. The front door was stiff, but it opened after she pushed harder. The air inside was cool and smelled of dust and old wood. The lobby was small and plain, just as she remembered. A long counter stood near the wall, and behind it hung a board with hooks for room keys. Lena stepped closer and felt a strange calm. Most of the hooks were empty. A few keys lay on the counter, covered in dust. But one key still hung on the board, clean and shiny. It swayed gently, even though there was no breeze. The number on the key was 13. Lena frowned. Her parents never talked about that room. When she was young, she once tried to walk down the hallway alone, but her mother stopped her quickly. Her father had looked serious that day, and told her never to go near the last door. Lena had asked questions, but no answers ever came. She reached out and took the key from the hook. It felt heavy in her hand, heavier than it should have been. She placed it in her pocket and looked around the lobby again. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. She walked down the main hallway. The lights did not work, but sunlight came in through broken windows. Doors lined both sides of the hallway. Each door looked worn and tired. Some had numbers falling off. Others were scratched or cracked. Lena opened a few rooms carefully. Inside, the rooms were empty and dusty. Beds were covered with old sheets. Curtains hung unevenly. A chair lay on its side in one room. Everything showed signs of long silence. No one had stayed here in years. As Lena moved deeper into the motel, her memories returned. She remembered her mother cleaning the rooms early in the morning. She remembered her father fixing doors and greeting guests with a calm smile. The motel was never fancy, but it was warm. It was home. She reached the end of the hallway and stopped. Room 13 stood before her. The door looked different from the others. The paint was smooth. The number plate was new. The handle shined softly in the light. It looked like someone had taken care of this door while ignoring the rest of the building. Lena felt her chest tighten. She did not touch the door yet. Instead, she stepped back and looked around. The hallway was empty. No sound came from anywhere. She decided to leave the room for now and explore the rest of the motel. She went to the back area where the storage rooms were located. Old boxes were stacked against the walls. Most were empty, but some held broken lamps, towels, and small furniture pieces. Dust covered everything. She found the old office next. Inside, a desk stood near the window. Papers were scattered across it. Lena picked one up and recognized her father's handwriting. It was a list of repairs, dated many years ago. She felt a small smile appear on her face. Then she noticed something strange. The list ended suddenly. The last line read, "Do not open room 13. Lena slowly put the paper down. A quiet feeling of worry settled inside her. She had never seen this note before. Why would her father write something like that and leave it here? She returned to the hallway, feeling more alert now. As she walked, she heard a soft sound behind her. It was very faint, like a door moving gently. Lena turned around quickly. The hallway was empty. She told herself it was just the building settling. Old places made sounds. Still, her hand stayed close to her pocket where the key rested. When she reached room 13 again, her heart skipped a beat. The door was slightly open. She was sure it had been closed before. Lena stood still and stared at the narrow opening. The air around the door felt cooler. She took a step closer and listened. No sound came from inside the room. She placed her hand on the door and pushed it open slowly. The room was clean. There was no dust on the floor. The bed was neatly made. A small table stood by the window, and a lamp rested on it. The curtains were fresh and light, moving gently even though the window was closed. Lena stepped inside carefully. The door closed behind her with a soft sound. She looked around in disbelief. This room did not belong in this motel. It felt like time had stopped here while everything else aged. On the wall hung a framed photo. Lena moved closer and felt her breath catch. The photo showed the motel years ago, bright and full of life. Her parents stood near the entrance, smiling. But there was another person in the picture. A man stood beside them. Lena had never seen him before. She felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Who was he? Why was he in this room? Her eyes moved to the desk near the bed. A notebook lay open on top of it. The pages were filled with writing. Lena reached for it, her hands shaking slightly. The first line read clearly. This room was never checked out. At that moment, Lena heard footsteps outside the room. Someone was walking down the hallway toward her. And they were getting closer. Lena stood frozen near the desk as the footsteps outside the room grew louder. Each step echoed softly through the hallway, slow and steady, as if the person walking knew exactly where they were going. Lena's heart beat hard in her chest. She held the notebook close and looked toward the door. The handle did not move at first. The footsteps stopped right outside room 13. The silence felt heavy, pressing against her ears. Lena wondered if she should hide, but there was nowhere to go. The room was small, clean, and open. Whoever stood outside already knew she was there. A gentle knock followed. Lena swallowed and took a step forward. Her voice came out quieter than she expected. "Who is there?" For a moment, there was no reply. Then a calm voice answered. "You should not be inside that room." Lena felt a chill move through her arms. She recognized the voice, not from memory, but from the photo on the wall. She slowly opened the door. An older man stood in the hallway. His hair was gray, and his face showed lines from many years of hard work. He wore a simple jacket, faded and worn. On the jacket was the old motel logo, stitched by hand. Lena looked at him closely. "You worked here," she said. The man nodded. "A long time ago." He glanced past her into the room, his eyes narrowing slightly. "I hoped this door would stay closed." Lena stepped aside, allowing him to see the room fully. His shoulders lowered, as if he had been carrying a heavy weight. "My parents never talked about this room," Lena said. "Why?" The man sighed and leaned against the wall. "Because this room changes people," he said. "It holds on to them." Lena did not understand. She held up the notebook. "I found this inside. It says this room was never checked out." The man looked away. His silence answered her more than words could. He finally spoke. "Your parents tried to protect everyone, including you." He told Lena his name was Arun. He had worked at the motel since before she was born. He knew every room, every guest, and every story tied to the building. When strange things started happening, he was the first to notice. Guests who stayed in room 13 acted differently. They slept too long. They stopped making calls. Some forgot why they came. Others refused to leave. "Your parents thought it was stress," Arun said. "They thought the guests were tired travelers." But then one guest stayed too long. Lena listened closely as he spoke. The guest arrived late one night, paid in cash, and asked for room 13. He stayed for weeks. When your father tried to speak with him, the man did not seem to know where he was. He believed the motel was his home. When they tried to move him, the guest became confused and afraid. One morning, he was gone. His belongings remained, but he never checked out. After that, the room never felt empty. Lena felt her hands grow cold. Why did my parents keep the motel open? Because closing it would not fix anything, Arun said. The room needed someone to watch it. He explained that her parents took turns checking on the room. They made sure no one stayed there again. They cleaned it. They spoke softly inside it. They treated it like a living thing that needed care. Lena's chest tightened. And then they passed away. Arun nodded. After that, I tried to keep watch, but I grew old. I locked the place and stayed away. Still, the room waited. He looked at Lena with a serious expression. It responds to family. Lena turned back to the room. The light felt warmer now. The air felt steady, almost calm. She realized something then. The room was not angry. It was lonely. She picked up the notebook again and read more pages. The writing spoke of nights spent listening to soft sounds, of memories appearing like shadows, of voices that felt familiar. Her parents had written about their fear, but also about their duty. They did not hate the room. They were guarding it. Suddenly, the lamp on the table flickered. Lena looked up. The window glass reflected shapes moving behind her. She turned, but nothing was there. The room felt heavier. Arun stepped back into the hallway. "It knows you are here now," he said. Lena asked what would happen next. "That depends on you." The walls of the room seemed closer. Lena heard faint sounds, like quiet talking, but she could not understand the words. Images filled her mind. Her mother folding sheets. Her father locking the door at night. Laughter from long ago. Tears filled Lena's eyes. "They are still here," she whispered. Arun nodded slowly. "In a way." Lena took the key from her pocket and looked at it. She understood now why it felt heavy. It carried responsibility. She placed the notebook back on the desk. "I will not leave without understanding everything," she said. Arun looked worried but did not stop her. "Be careful," he warned. "The room gives comfort, but comfort can make people forget." The door closed behind him as he stepped away. Lena stood alone again inside room 13. The whispers grew clearer, not loud, but gentle. The room was waking up. Lena took a deep breath and prepared herself. She was ready to face whatever her family had protected for so long. And the room was ready to show her the truth. Lena stood in the center of room 13 and tried to steady her breathing. The door was closed now, and the hallway outside felt very far away. The room looked the same as before, clean and calm, but something invisible had changed. The air felt thicker, like it was full of memories that wanted to speak. She walked slowly toward the window. Outside, the sky had darkened, even though it was still early evening. Clouds moved slowly, and the light felt weak. Lena placed her hand on the glass. It was warm. Behind her, the lamp began to glow brighter on its own. Lena turned around, her heart beating fast. The light filled the room with a soft yellow color. It did not feel scary. It felt familiar. Lena sat on the edge of the bed. As soon as she did, a wave of emotion passed through her. She suddenly remembered sitting on this same bed as a child, swinging her legs while her mother spoke softly. The memory felt real, not like a dream. She stood up quickly. "That never happened," she said quietly. The room did not answer, but the feeling remained. Lena realized the room was showing her moments, not forcing them, just offering them. She walked to the desk and opened the notebook again. She read pages she had not noticed before. The writing changed tone over time. At first, her parents wrote with fear. Later pages showed calm. The final entries spoke about balance. "This room holds what people leave behind. This room remembers so we do not have to." Lena closed the notebook and pressed it to her chest. She finally understood something important. Room 13 was not trapping people. It was holding pieces of them, moments they could not carry anymore. She heard a soft sound near the door. It was not footsteps. It was more like a slow breath. The walls seemed to pulse gently, like a heartbeat. Lena spoke clearly. I am here to understand, not to stay. The room responded in its own way. The light shifted. Shadows formed near the wall and slowly shaped into scenes. Lena watched as memories played out in silence. She saw her father sitting at the desk, tired but calm, writing in the notebook. She saw her mother standing near the door, touching the handle with care. They did not look afraid. They looked focused. Then she saw something new. The man from the photo stood in the room. He looked lost and confused. Her parents spoke to him gently. They helped him sit. They listened. Over time, his fear faded. The room grew brighter around him. Lena realized the truth. The room gave peace to those who needed it most. Some people arrived too broken to leave again. The room held them gently, keeping their pain from spilling into the world. Tears rolled down Lena's face, but she did not wipe them away. My parents stayed to protect others, she said softly. The room felt warm, as if agreeing. Suddenly, the door handle shook once. Lena turned quickly. Arun's voice came through the door. Lena, you must be careful. She opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Arun looked worried. The lights in the hallway flickered faintly. You have been inside too long, he said. Lena nodded. I know what it does now. Arun looked surprised. Most people do not understand it so quickly. Because it is family, Lena said. She explained what she saw. Arun listened without interrupting. When she finished, he leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. They carried a heavy burden, he said. I did not know how deep it went. Lena looked back at the room. The door stood open, inviting but quiet. I will not abandon it, she said. But I cannot replace them either. Arun nodded slowly. Then the room must learn to rest. They stepped back inside together. Lena walked to the bed and placed the key on the pillow. The room grew silent. The light softened. Lena spoke with confidence. This place does not need to hold more pain. It has done enough. The air shifted. The warmth remained, but the pressure eased. Lena felt lighter. The shadows on the walls faded. The memories slowed, then stopped. Arun watched in awe. It is listening to you, he said. Lena picked up the key again. I will return, she said. But on my terms. The room did not resist. The lamp dimmed slowly. The window cooled. The room felt empty for the first time, but not lonely. As Lena and Arun left room 13, the door closed gently behind them. The hallway felt brighter than before. Outside, the sky cleared slightly, and the clouds moved away. Lena knew the hardest part was still ahead. But for the first time since arriving, she felt ready to face it. Morning light entered the motel through broken windows and rested softly on the hallway floor. Lena woke up sitting on an old chair near the front desk. Her body felt tired, but her mind was clear. The silence around her felt different now. It was no longer heavy. It felt calm, like the motel was resting. She stood up and stretched slowly. Arun was already awake, sitting near the entrance with a cup of water in his hands. He looked at Lena with quiet respect. You did not sleep much, he said. Lena shook her head. The room did not let me fully rest, she replied. It kept showing me things. Arun nodded. That is how it speaks. They walked together down the hallway. The doors on both sides looked the same, old and worn, but Lena felt a change in the air. The motel felt less closed, less trapped in the past. When they reached room 13, Lena stopped. The door was closed, just as they left it. She placed her hand near the handle but did not touch it. I need to finish what my parents started, she said. Arun looked unsure. That work nearly broke them. Lena turned toward him. They did not break. They endured. She opened the door and stepped inside. The room looked quieter than before. The bed was still made, but the light was softer. The air felt balanced, not pulling, not pushing. Lena walked to the window. Outside, she could see the empty parking lot and the long road beyond it. She realized something important. The room did not want people to stay forever. It wanted understanding. She spoke clearly, not loudly. This place helped people carry pain. But pain cannot live here forever. The room responded gently. The light shifted, and Lena felt memories move around her, slower now, calmer. She saw her parents again, not working, not guarding, but smiling together in the lobby. They looked peaceful. Tears filled Lena's eyes. "You can rest now," she whispered. The warmth in the room slowly faded, leaving behind a neutral calm. The room felt like a normal room for the first time. Arun stepped closer. "What happens now?" Lena looked around. "Now it becomes just a room." They worked together for the rest of the day. They cleaned the hallway and opened windows. Fresh air moved through the motel. Dust floated out and settled away from the building. Lena found old records in the office and read through them carefully. She learned how long her parents had carried this responsibility. They never asked for help. They never complained. They simply stayed. As the sun began to set, Lena made a decision. "This place cannot be a motel again," she said. "It will invite the wrong kind of attention." Arun agreed. "But it should not be destroyed either." Lena nodded. "It will be sealed and protected." Quietly, they boarded up several rooms, leaving the structure stable but closed. When they reached room 13 again, Lena placed a simple lock on the door. Not a heavy lock. Just enough to mark a boundary. She held the key for a long moment, then placed it inside a small metal box along with the notebook. "This story stays here," she said. As night fell, the motel looked peaceful under the moonlight. The building no longer felt forgotten. It felt complete. Lena and Arun sat outside on the steps. The road was empty. Stars filled the sky. "Your parents would be proud," Arun said. Lena smiled softly. "They taught me without speaking." A gentle breeze moved through the grass. For a brief moment, Lena felt a familiar warmth beside her, like a hand resting on her shoulder. She did not turn. She did not need to. She knew. The motel stood quietly behind them. Room 13 was closed. And for the first time in many years, it was at rest. The sun rose slowly behind the motel, casting long shadows across the empty parking lot. Lena stood near the entrance and watched the light touch the walls. The building looked older in daylight, but it also looked peaceful. For the first time since she arrived, Lena felt no weight pressing on her chest. Arun walked out carrying a small bag of tools. He placed them near the steps and looked back at the motel. "It feels different," he said. "Like it is finally quiet." Lena nodded. "It is no longer holding on," she replied. "It has learned how to let go." They spent the morning finishing small tasks. Broken boards were secured. Loose windows were covered. Nothing was rushed. Every movement felt careful, like closing a chapter slowly instead of slamming it shut. Lena walked through the hallway one last time. Each door stayed closed. The air felt neutral, not warm and not cold. Just empty in a good way. When she reached room 13, she stopped again. The lock was still in place. She touched the door gently with her fingertips. "Thank you," she said softly. There was no response, no movement, no feeling pushing back. The room was just a room now. Lena turned away and continued walking. Later that day, a car arrived at the edge of the road. A woman stepped out, holding a folder. She was from the local office, sent to confirm the land records. Lena met her outside and signed the final papers. The land would be protected. The motel would remain standing but closed. No one would rent rooms here again. No one would disturb what rested inside. As the car drove away, Lena felt a sense of relief wash over her. She was no longer responsible for guarding the past. She was responsible for remembering it. Arun packed his things and prepared to leave as well. He looked older now, but lighter. I stayed too long because I did not know how to say goodbye, he said. Lena smiled at him. Sometimes places need to be released, just like people. They stood together for a moment, looking at the motel in silence. Before leaving, Lena returned to the lobby. She opened the small metal box one last time. Inside were the key and the notebook. She read the final page again. We stay so others can leave. Lena closed the notebook and wrapped it carefully. She placed both items back in the box and sealed it tightly. Then she slid the box into a hidden space behind the old counter and covered it with wood. Some stories did not need to be found again. As evening approached, Lena packed her car. She took one last look at the motel. The broken sign creaked gently as the wind moved through it. She remembered herself as a child running down the hallway. She remembered laughter, warm meals, and quiet nights. She understood now why her parents stayed. Not because they were trapped, but because they chose to protect others. Lena got into her car and started the engine. The road stretched ahead of her, long and open. As she drove away, she felt a familiar warmth, gentle and calm. It was not pulling her back. It was letting her go. The motel stood behind her, silent and still. Room 13 remained closed. Not forgotten, but finally at peace.